So enough of that. I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Dorothy Danner, for her words of wisdom. Please welcome.
Wisdom, indeed. First of all, it's great to be back in this marvelous place, nutty and wonderful, and meet all of these great young artists. They have really made it wonderful. This is our third week. We'd probably like about 5 more. I know I would for this piece, but we're having a wonderful time. So, Rossini. I've done 4 Rossini pieces. I think Cenerentola is the easiest piece to do. Something, maybe, I don't know, I'm attracted to the gentleness of the characters, the completion of the love scenes. Then I've done Viaggio. It's a very long journey too. And so you have to fill in a lot of that because the text is not greatly filled in. Barbara, of course, is based on a fabulous play, the Beaumarchais play. And there are so many wonderful character things you know from Barbara. I mean, I always think back the first time I read it, and was going to do it for the first time. I mean, you find out that, Figaro worked for the Count, but he got into trouble because he sold horse urine for medicine. So you already have a big clue as to what kind of character he is. And so, but for this, you don't have, you can't look at those facts and say, oh, isn't that rich? Let's bring this out. We'll do this. So you have to make up a lot of it for the characters. Now, I think of it as a farce. Now, Richard and I disagree about this, but we've decided we disagree about a lot of things, and we've agreed to disagree. Is that correct? Yes, so that's great. I think of it as a farce where the plot and the improbabilities, and that seems to me more important than the depth of the characters because it's not there. I mean, we struggle to bring it. Doesn't mean it's less real, because the needs of the characters are desperate in a farce, which is what makes it one. So anyhow, those some of my experiences with Rossini. But a farce gives you a great deal of freedom. You just listen to this delicious music and, let your imagination bounce all over. We also have given ourselves a set that allows. That's the whole thing, right? But you can spin. No, we're going to have some wonderful other things. But we can just spin and make all sorts of different shapes. So visually, it's interesting and fun and moves, hopefully, like the music, which, you don't want to sit for a set change and a heavy boom. So hopefully, that's the kind of, I think we're working hard to keep it all in that rhythm. Let's see, the research was a lot of fun. It's always fun. And, first I started reading novels about the Ottoman Empire and what was called the Avery Gate, and you find out the incredible intrigue that happened in the harems, the power of, the mother of the Sultan was enormously powerful, the head eunuch was enormously powerful, and people just disappeared if things didn't go well, especially the young male children of the concubines, because when the new sultan took over, there was to be no competition. So anyhow, this was the Ottoman Empire, and it went from 1299 to 1923, quite a run. I have a neighbor who is a film professor. So after I finished with the book, I looked at, artwork, of course, and but all of the paintings of harems had wonderful fountains and pools and things. And I said, well, that's not going to happen on that stage. So I had to get over that because, your mind goes, oh, we could do this. So no fountains, no pools. And then I went to film, and my neighbor's a film professor, and he always slips things under my door. So he gave me this fabulous film called, I hope I say it right, Suriname. It's from the 20s. It's by Ernst Lubitsch. I'm a great fan of Ernst Lubitsch. He, if you're interested, he also stars in the film, which I didn't know. I mean, I thought that was great. It's the exact story of Italian girl, and was extremely helpful. Some of the other films, I even saw Abbott and Costello get lost in a harem, which I used to love as a child, all those Abbott and Costello, and now I look and said, why, right? And then, let's see, The Sheik, Son of the Sheik, all of those, you find why Rudolph Valentino, they're still putting flowers on his grave. I mean, he was really a handsome gentleman. And then I remembered doing a show, Desert Song, which was, 1928, I think. But what you find out, all of these stories, as the story you talked about, they're all the same. The captive woman and the sheik or the bey or the sultan always falls in love with the captive lady. So anyhow, so I started thinking about that. And I thought, well, why shouldn't it be in the 20s, since that seemed like it was such a craze? And it wouldn't change that much because the Ottoman Empire did not change. So it would only change the people coming in and some of the props. Now, I promise I will not use a cell phone. We've seen the last, but you can certainly use cameras and fun props that sort of open the story. I don't really, I'm not really into updating. I admire it in other people. I say, oh, that's great, a wonderful idea, try this. Somehow, but this one, I know, it was when I saw Johnny Skiki at the Met. I love that show, and I love those characters, and of course those characters are so cleanly and beautifully defined. But they all had 800 yards of fabric, and I thought, I can't tell who's who or what the spine of that particular character is. So then I did a Johnny Skiki, and I said, oh, we can't do it then, let's do it in the 40s. So, and that was a good experience. So there are very, very few times that I update, but this seemed, I don't know, this seemed good. I listened to that music and that Papatacci trio, and I wanted to do a song and dance, and I thought, no, that could work. So anyhow, it will be in the 20s. I think it's highly physical and stylized, and that's because I have a dance background. I was a professional dancer for years, and when I listen to music, that's how I see it or hear it in my head. I mean, I can feel it, and so and with Rossini's rhythms, it always turns into a very physical production. But I think it's a good learning experience. They're exhausted, so yes. And I wanted to say how difficult comedy is. It takes so much more rehearsal, so many more details. I was struggling with some show, a Sondheim show, I think, and I watched Sondheim on an interview, and they were talking about the difficulties of casting Desiree, and he said, well, she's a light comedian. Light comedy is the most difficult. It's really not part of our culture either. So, yeah, to tell the story physicalized in the rhythm of Rossini is quite a task, but it's a very enjoyable task. It's a wonderful challenge, I think. Anyhow, I'm a great appreciator of comedy, really good comedy. I love... 2 weeks ago, I saw a Feydeau farce, which was spectacular. It was done by a French group. I don't know if it's their language or whatever it is, but this fast movement is very, very easy, light, wonderful for them. Also, I went to a panel discussion of Noel Coward. I was lucky enough to work with him when I was a kid in a Broadway show called Sail Away. And I see as much Coward as I can, some of it fabulous, some of it too heavy. And they had a panel of 6 actors, 3 British, 3 American. They all said the same thing. That's the one thing they agreed on. What is the secret to that? And they all said, rhythm, rhythm. If you let Coward drop for a second, you can't pick up the ball again. I mean, I thought that was fascinating. Let's see, what else? Fado, Ottoman, right, we did that. Okay, we're talking about how dangerous. Comedy is dangerous, I think. I mean, you have to walk out on a limb and say, all right, let's jump together. I mean, because I think good comedy is dangerous. We have some dangerous ideas in there that sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and say, why? It's been a lot of the nights, And then I woke up the other night and I said, that's awful. And then I thought, no, I just missed. If I do this one turn, because I like the idea, but I can't make it work. We found one today in the run. Delvira, I don't have the setup. So we'll be struggling with that tomorrow. But that's what I mean. It's like a science. It just, I, of course, looked at, I've seen, I don't know how many productions of this over the years. And now that they're YouTube, my goodness, everything is available. So I looked at this one, I had no idea. Dario Fo, who's phenomenal Italian director. He has one. Now, the ideas are brilliant. Each one maybe $2 million. I saw Pinnell. I love Pinnell's. Years ago at the Met, I remember that so well. It just warmed my heart. I thought it was the best thing I ever saw. Because of his design work, he could build all the comedy into the design, so it was so well put together. Then there's a wonderful Yugoslavian director, Andrei Serban, who did one with Larimore. Maybe you've seen that. And so I worked with Andrei Serban down at the New York Shakespeare Festival many years ago, but I have great respect for him. So it was wonderful looking at this. And then I thought, a lot of good ideas. There was one thing, though, as much as I admire, that I didn't think anybody attempted that we're going to attempt, and that's integrating the ensemble with the principals. You can look, after you've been through thousands of rehearsals, you can look at something and say, they met probably at the last dress rehearsal. Right, well, that one just flew in, because you can tell if it's an ensemble or not. And I thought that would be really fascinating with some of our nutty ideas about how to truly integrate the ensemble, who, by the way, have kept great spirits. I could tell on their faces when they came in the first day, you're going to be the chorus. But they have chipped in and given so much color to the show. So I admire their talent and their spirit. That's terrific. Let's see if there's anything else here. Oh, yeah. I was looking up also, the comedies of the 20s, comedies of the 30s, and there was this thing called screwball comedies that started in the 30s. And I thought, I don't really know what a screwball comedy, what the definition is. So I looked it up and I thought, well, that certainly sounds like Italian Girl. And it is characterized by a female that dominates the relationship with the male central character whose masculinity is challenged. Now, that is Italian Girl, right? And, then they said, like Much Ado About Nothing. All these classical plays have bits of screwball comedy in them. I will be doing this show again. I look forward to, because then, I don't know if every director does this, but you usually try to get a video, and then about 6 months later, after you've cooled down, and say, okay, now take a cold look at this, and then you go, oh, not bad, terrible, boom, and you go through it, and you grade it all, and then you have another production coming up, so I've got to change this and this and this, Finally, I think I've done Daughter of the Regiment 12 times. I think I finally hit it the last time. I said, now that was good, but everything, you have to have the right combination of cast and set and everything. So I'm hoping to have the opportunities to do that with this one. But we really have had a marvelous time. We got through the first act. We have an enormous amount of work to do before next Saturday. But I've got the cast here, and they've got the spirit, and they certainly have got the talent. So we're going to do our best, and I hope you enjoy it.